of the day. This press release from Washington. Dan and Tanya Snyder and the Washington Commanders have announced today they have hired Bank of America Securities to consider potential transactions. The statement did not specify what those transactions might be, a sale of the team, or if they were pursuing minority investors. A Commanders spokesperson said the team was exploring all options. Forbes magazine reporting that Snyder already has at least 4 calls from groups interested in buying the team. Kevin Blackistone, I turn to you in Washington, D.C. You have covered this franchise with Dan Snyder's owner. You've been a season ticket holder at one point, or are you still? Let's get to the bottom of that as well, as Daniel Snyder's an owner. What are we talking about here? Minority stake? The whole thing? Do you believe this?
Well, I'll believe it when it happens, and what I'm talking about believing is that he will actually sell the team. You know, it's hard to walk away from a $300 million check from the NFL every August when you don't really have to do anything to earn it other than be in the league. But this is monumental news because Dan Snyder's a guy who has dug his heels in with this franchise, no matter how much the fan base continues to turn against him, no matter how bad the performance of it, no matter how awful the news is surrounding him, be it sexual harassment charges that are being investigated, whether or not he cooked the books and kept money away from the other owners, all of that. He has dug his heels in. And he really doesn't have, when you think about it at this point, he doesn't really have any other identification in terms of his person. He is the owner of the Washington football team. So it's hard for me to believe that he's actually going to walk away from it. This is the first time we've ever heard any inkling of information that he might actually sell some or part of this team. And selling part of it is not good enough.
Bill Plaschke.
Oh, he's selling the team. I mean, we just went through this out here with Artie Marino made an announcement. If you make an announcement like this, you're not trolling for minority owners. You do that quietly. You make an announcement like this, you're saying the team is for sale. We've seen that in other ownership groups before, and thank goodness. He's under 3 different investigations. He has owners wanting to get him out. He obviously sees and saw what happened to the likes of Donald Sterling. He doesn't want that to happen to him. He wants to get out before he gets pushed out. Clearly, to me, he's selling the team.
Woody Page.
Well, I hope he is. I mean, that's all I hope. He needs to be out of the league. Based on the investigations, when you're an owner and you're being called before Congress and you're being investigated by not only the NFL, by the other owners who are making statements about you, and Congress is investigating you, it's time to get out. He can go to the XFL or somewhere else or buy car dealerships, Kevin, if he wants his name out there. But he doesn't belong with the Washington football team any longer. And I think the sooner this happens, the better. We saw this in Carolina. We saw this with the Los Angeles Clippers. We've seen it in Houston. It's time to happen in D.C.
And Frank Isola.
Kevin is right. You know, these owners, these billionaire owners with their big egos, they dig their heels and say, no one's going to tell me what to do. Didn't he say that about the name of the team? And then eventually it got changed. I think what's happening, very similar to what happened in Phoenix with Robert Sarver. You tell him you need to sell the team. He comes out public and no one's telling me what to do. Then you make it seem like it's your idea. You know what? Upon further reflection, I think I don't need this nonsense anymore. Let me go sell the team. That's what I think is exactly happening. They need new ownership there. They need a new stadium. That place is an absolute dump. This is a team with a great organization, with a great, great tradition, which has been terrible the last 20 years.
And now Kevin Blackistone. You answered the question from a reporter's perspective. Now from a personal perspective, maybe.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, I mean, this owner has just ripped my heart out. I mean, I grew up with this team. I lived and died with this team every weekend for completely irrational reasons, being a fan. And I've turned into a red zone fan. That's who I cheer for now on NFL weekends. I can't embrace what has been put out there as a product. But I'll just say one thing, just the cynic in me also wonders how many other owners actually want Dan Snyder out of this league because he's not competitive, and so far we don't know if he's actually cost you any money. And so that is something that I think is why a lot of owners have not spoken out with their names.
As has been established, the multiple reviews, investigation, congressional into workplace misconduct, all those things, there still would have to be a league vote, right? 24 of 32 owners would have to pass any ownership along. Should Snyder decide he wants to sell, can't do it until 24 of 32 sign off on it. We've been horned, we'll move on. 5 home runs in a World Series game. 5 home runs allowed by one pitcher in a World Series game. Man, the Bryce Harper was just nuked, and Schwarber just ethered. So again, Lance McCullers denied he was tipping pitches. Look at Harper talking to Bohm before his ballistic missile. Dusty Baker said he thought there was some good moments with McCullers, and then a blooper and a home run, another home run, and then he couldn't get anybody loose. Frank Isola, do you believe McCullers was tipping, and do you believe Dusty blew it in not getting the bullpen up earlier?
He should have gotten him out of there. I love when they tell you about the bloops. They never tell you about the one that the guy, that Bryce Harper hit, which is still traveling right now. He was tipping pitches the way Bill Plaschke tips his arguments, where the Dodgers, I guarantee you're going to win everything. And that scene of Bryce Harper falling over his teammate, F.P. Santangelo, who used to play baseball and now works at a station out in San Francisco, a friend of ours, he said in live time, he's calling him over to tell him that they're tipping pitches. Come on. If Major League Baseball retired players know it, how do the Astros not know it? And you can't help but look at the irony of it. A team that was busted for cheating kind of gets caught tipping pitches. It was beautiful.
There it is. I was wondering if anybody would go there. Why was I even wondering with Frank Isola on the program? Kevin Blackistone, do you believe there was tipping last night? Do you believe Dusty blew it?
Well, I'll say this, and you mentioned it, Frank, about a team that was cheating, getting caught tipping pitches. Well, in the World Series against the Nats, Steven Strasburg was caught tipping his pitch, and his pitching coach, Paul Maynard, called him aside after he'd given up 2 runs, including a home run to Bergman, and said, you got to change this up because they know what's coming. So I look at this situation, and it certainly seems like something was being tipped, but then I look at McCullers' record, 651 off-speed pitches, only giving up one home run, and all of a sudden last night, 4 off-speed pitches, and they get jacked over the wall. So I don't know what was going on. I don't know what the Astros didn't see, but clearly the Phillies saw something.
Woody Page.
Well, Kevin, that's why the Houston pitchers, the rest on the staff, should have been taking a look at this and seeing if they could find anything, because I was able to look at the film and saw that when he threw a fastball, his leg was farther out than when he was throwing breaking pitches. It's pretty easy to figure that out, even for an idiot like me on television. Why couldn't they have done it? In regard to Dusty, it didn't matter. They didn't score any runs, so it wouldn't have mattered when you took him out, because they weren't going to ever come back in that game whatsoever. But he should have gone, even though he liked that he pitched well in the 3rd and 4th innings, it was too much. He should have gotten to his bullpen, which we've talked about for weeks. The best bullpen in baseball, and he didn't do it.
Plaschke.
Yeah, and another bit of irony, one of the last teams to hit 5 home runs in a World Series game, the cheating Astros, Game 5 against the Dodgers.
Okay, Bill.
So what goes around, goes around comes around. They deserve this.
Okay.
And also, I was very disappointed in Dusty. We all love Dusty, but we all have to be honest. He's awful when it comes to the bullpen. He's awful when it comes to handling pitchers. He should have gotten McCullers out of there. First off, somebody should have told that dugout, should have told McCullers. We all knew he was tipping pitches. Where's his teammates? Where's Justin Verlander saying, stop this, change this? It was a mess in the dugout. McCullers should have been allowed to face Schwarber the 3rd time around. Dusty blew
Bill.
it. The Astros
But
blew
maybe
it.
the Astros heard you on this show saying, why even play the games? It's going to be a sweep. Why even play the Phillies? They have no shot against Houston. Look what Philly has done to you. Even yesterday you were on the show and you said, no, this is when Houston takes it back. Well, that's not the case. Tonight, Game 4, Javier versus Nola. Must win for Houston, Plaschke? A must not get clobbered? A must not tip your pitches?
I'm picking the Astros again tonight, Tony. It's a must-win. Christian Javier has been great in the postseason. Nola hasn't been great in the postseason. The Astros, as much as I hate them, they're still, I believe, they're a better team.
You can't believe the words that are coming out of Plaschke's mouth. Please.
You're supposed to look at it logically and say, of course it's not a must-win. The series doesn't end tonight if they lose, but guess what? I kind of feel like it's a must-win as well. They got to do something to reverse this. Who thought that the Phillies could win with home runs? The Yankees try that, and they never win.
Blackistone.
Maybe if Dusty was doing this show yesterday, Plaschke, he could have pulled you from the show, huh? He'd saved you. But at any rate, I'm with you on this. I think the Astros are going to pull ahead, but they've got to win this, right? They've got to win. This is must-win because of the new setup for the World Series.
2-3-2, you're saying. The next three. Philadelphia hasn't lost at home this postseason. Woody Page, who you got tonight?
I've got Houston, but I don't think it's a must-win. Just as soon as they can get one victory in Philadelphia and take it back to Houston, they still have a chance in this series.
All right. Bill Plaschke, Philadelphia fans right now at home saying, thank you. Please continue what you're doing, picking exactly the way you are. One more story here. College football playoff rankings. Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and then Michigan, Alabama. Woody Page, your Vols, number 1. Committee get this right? Week 1 of the rankings?
I wish I could use obscenities on this program as I did on the conference call this morning. I would say they got it so damn bad.
You don't like Tennessee being number 1? I thought you would have been here to celebrate that.
No, what the committee got wrong was Georgia and Tennessee should be 1 and 2, so we could have the drama of having those two teams play against each other on Saturday, with one being number 1. It made no sense whatsoever. 1 and 3, Georgia's been number 1 most of the year. Tennessee gets there. Why don't you have them play against each other?
Bill Plaschke, did the committee get this right?
You know, yeah, the committee's fine. Woody, it's going to work itself out. Everybody's going to win. Whoever wins is going to win and going to lose. It's going to figure itself out. But they did get it wrong with TCU. TCU's got 4 road wins. TCU's got 4 wins against ranked teams. TCU has third-ranked strength of schedule. And they're behind a 1-loss Alabama team. Are you kidding me? TCU's on the verge of getting jobbed here. This is a big deal for TCU.
Isola?
Well, I think Woody is right about number 2. It should be Georgia. I have no problem with Tennessee. They have the best regular season win thus far. It should be Tennessee, then Georgia. Get a good 1-2 game this weekend.
Blackistone on the first 4.
It works out for me, but I'll just say this about Alabama. They lost what everybody said was the greatest game ever played in Knoxville on a wobbly last-second field goal, and they're 6th best in the country behind Michigan?
Well, they lost. Michigan
and that'll
didn't
play
lose.
its way out.
Yeah.
That's true.
Had some help get past
back
Texas,
to
right?
28-10.
Okay. Plaschke, yesterday, I don't mean to pile on you here. I mean, far be it for me to think about what you said.
do it.
You had UCLA just outside the top 4 when USC and Oregon are ahead of them in the rankings. It's a tough week for Bill Plaschke. It's all right. There's still time. Frank Isola, the Ime Udoka hiring is reportedly imminent. You cover this team for Yes. Is there anything you could tell us on that front? And last night's game, and whether the season is salvageable.
And Kyrie had been great all season except the last night. I don't know how Kevin Durant could say that he's shocked. You're the guy reportedly that said, I want Steve Nash out over the summer. Now you're going to say you're shocked that he is gone. I think getting Ime Udoka is a Hail Mary to try to save the season because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant seem to like Ime Udoka. But the Nets have to do something with this roster. They need Curry back, obviously healthy, and they need to get a big man. They're not big and strong.
So they need to still make moves to salvage the season. But the Udoka signing, we heard was imminent yesterday. It's been 24 hours. We're hearing from Marcus Smart in Boston. How is this even happening? He's going to our rivals after we suspended him 40 days ago. Is there a PR situation that's holding this back?
That certainly could be in play, and if it's not, it's going to happen when he has his press conference and Sean Marks has his press conference. Because if you're a woman that works in the Brooklyn Nets organization, you might have some questions. I think fans are going to have some questions too. He was suspended for a year. Now we'd be, in theory, coming back after what, 35 days? A little hard to believe.
Kevin Blackistone.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, other than maybe the NBA and people around them have figured out something else about that situation. But as far as the basketball side of it, it's a great move for the Nets because they need a coach. They've got talent that we know about, and maybe they do need to restructure the roster. But you got to think that Durant and Kyrie Irving are loving this.
To your
move.
point, maybe people in the NBA view that scenario differently than Boston did 40 days ago. The report yesterday that they were looking into Udoka and doing due diligence came out, and then within minutes it was hiring imminent. Due diligence took minutes, Woody Page?
I don't think so. It doesn't smell right to me. I think that at least he should wait for another 2 or 3 months for a guy suspended for a full year. Kevin, they got talent. When I watched the game last night, I thought the 2 worst teams I've seen all year are the Nets and the Lakers. Maybe they should make it.
Easy.
That's what should happen.
Easy,
Right.
Woody.
Lakers can't beat anybody, although they did beat somebody.
They beat
They
the
beat the
Nuggets
Denver
on Sunday,
Nuggets. Oh,
Woody.
Woody, that's an unfortunate turn of events for you. Go ahead, Plaschke.
Yeah, no, I think in all seriousness, I think Adam Silver needs to get involved here. the NBA needs to call the Nets and say, stop this. I think because how can one team suspend a guy and then he comes back for another team a month later? It makes no sense. The NBA needs to get involved. This hiring can't take place, and I'm not so sure it will take place.
The NBA needs to get involved in that. The NBA statement about Kyrie Irving didn't mention Kyrie Irving in it, interestingly enough. NBA statement on this is yet to come. Woody Page, let's talk some football now, because I know you just took a hit for one of your teams. Denver made a trade yesterday, Bradley Chubb to Miami. That was one of the big moves of the deadline. Some teams that didn't make moves, Green Bay, Los Angeles, Tennessee, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, no moves. Woody, anybody make a mistake by not making a move?
I've got to have a comeback here, strong comeback. The Packers are dead. There's no reason for them to make a move. They tried to, but it's the Rams, Bill. The Rams are 3-4. They need to make the kind of moves they made last year that got them into the Super Bowl and winning it, but they didn't do anything. They couldn't even pull off one deal. That doesn't make any sense there. Snead didn't do the job he's paid to do.
Plaschke?
Yeah, I agree with you on the Rams. I was there on Sunday, and I'm shouting, how come they didn't get McCaffrey? Look what he's doing for the 49ers. Yeah, the Rams they're 30th in the league in rushing. They need to make a move. But I'll say this, don't count them out yet. In 2018, their Super Bowl year, the first Super Bowl year, they signed O.J. Anderson in December off the scrap heap.
It was C.J. Anderson. If they signed O.J. Anderson, one of my favorites from about 35 years ago. How were they supposed to make a move when they traded every draft pick they've ever even imagined to have, Frank Isola? Anybody blow it at the deadline?
Yeah, nobody heard Bill saying that because there were so many 49er fans in the building that he drowned them out a little bit. I would say the Green Bay Packers because, they probably lost Devontae Adams because of Aaron Rodgers' contract, but how do you not try to upgrade the wide receiver position? Not a good year for aging superstar quarterbacks in the NFC.
And Blackstone.
I mean, if Aaron Rodgers had been with me and my daughter trick-or-treating the other night, he would have gotten home, opened up his bag, and what would he have had? The rock that Charlie Brown gets on trade day. The Packers are ridiculous. What do they have against wide receivers?
Plaschke, Woody, I'll say you take your hits like a pro. One in overtime. Lindholm went coast to coast. What does a 9-1 start to a season mean, KB?
It means stay away from it. It means bad luck. You're talking to a guy who grew up in Washington, D.C., watching the Capitals win all those President's trophies. What did that get him? He who has to carry the President's trophy doesn't win.
Okay.
Hang on a second, Kevin. Here's a team that's an original 6, and it's the best start in franchise history. I'm talking Eddie Shore to Brad Marchand, who, by the way, 4 points in his first 2 games for the Bruins.
But Blackstone has the information. President, stay away. We'll move on. Portland Thorns, they won a championship. Their rally last night was raucous. All right? I mean, Christine Sinclair cursing at the microphone. Megan Klingberg cursing at the microphone. Very impressive. Very excited. That's how you do it. I'm still on this weekend, though. Sophia Smith's championship pose after the goal was awesome. And then the photos that have come out of 17-year-old Olivia Moultrie avoiding the beer celebration. I thought this was just so precious. Meredith Cash, Business Insider, clued us into this. Frank, who celebrated best? Was it the poser? Was it the cursors? Or was it the absentee alcohol celebration there by the underage player?
I like the Sophia Smith. It's a little bit like Mbappe. By the way, that team is stacked with Christine Sinclair, Crystal Dunn, the great goal in the semifinals, and Wayne Coffey's daughter, Sam, who played with my daughter, also on that team. Congratulations.
Nice. I love the awareness of the 17-year-old to run away from the alcohol in that great moment. That was great. They're chasing her around.
Martinelli's, does that still exist? Some fake alcohol would have been great. Kevin Blackstone, take the FaceTime.
And while we're talking about the Thorns, thank you very much. Let's give them some love. After all the NWSL women have been through this year, that franchise as well, to see them be able to celebrate, have a smile on their face, and have some joy for playing this sport.